All right, so now let's take these dry vocals that we just made really dry and good and clean and put them through our vocal chain that we created, and let's send them to some buses. And what that's going to do is going to create some really cool effects. And it's really good to use buses with your effects because you can separate them from the dry vocals. And the second you're using too many effects just on one track or just one effect on one track, you can't really control the dryness of it. You're taking away from that dryness by adding the effect. And so if we have a bus, we can really manipulate how much of that reverb or delay or whatever effect we're going to do. We can really affect how that's going to affect the end mix, which the more control we have, the better. And so let's get some buses going. Go to our main screen. I'm going to right click and insert return track. This is going to be a bus. I'm going to call this return track small verb. And then I'm going to do another return track. I'm going to call this return track med verb for medium verb. One more return track. We're going to call this, can you guess it? Can you guess it? Large verb. Wow, that's a lot of reverbs. Okay, we're gonna call it arg verb. I don't know why it's not letting me type L. That's fine though. Okay, so now we have 3 of those. Now let's do it again. You know what? Let's use that hotkey. Control Alt T. Look at that. That's gonna be a return. Let's do 3 more. So now we have all the way up to F. Name this return small delay and large. It's not letting me use L's. That's so funny. Oh, I can use lowercase L's, not capital L's. That's so weird. That's gonna drive me nuts. Large delay. And then on this last one, call this double. So what we're gonna be basically creating is different environments. And normally you kind of think like, oh, I just want a large hall reverb for my vocals to sound like they're in a big auditorium. And that's all you use for your reverb. And then you just punch it. You'll listen to your end mix and you'll be like, why can't I get the vocals that sound so cool in studio? That's why. You're using one big reverb to do it. And if you actually think about how a room works, you're hearing every single reverb. So if I was singing in a church and you were sitting in the pew in front of me, you're maybe 20 feet away from me, and I'm singing really, really loud. The first thing you're gonna hear is not the reverb. The first thing you're gonna hear is my dry signal. And then within a few milliseconds, you're not going to hear the huge reverb echo. You're going to hear everything else that's bouncing off. If there's walls to your left or right, it might be bouncing off those a little bit. Or you might hear it bouncing off the pews, or you might hear it bouncing off a post behind you or something like that before you actually get this huge reverb. And so you got to kind of create the space in different forms and then dial them in until you've created the actual sound that you want. And it's never just one sound. So the small room that we're going to create is going to give us kind of like that first initial bounce that you're going to hear if it's bouncing off things. If we need to use a medium one, we will. Sometimes I just put it in there just in case. And then the large one will create the space that we actually want. But with delays, that's where you're actually going to get the effect that something is big without even invading your mixes. If you are only putting reverb on your mixes or on your vocals to create space, then you're going to overpower your mixes and it's going to sound cluttered. Your mixes are going to sound very cluttered with reverb. And the delays, all they're doing is delaying in your ears. It's a manipulation, tricking your ears into thinking you're hearing a space that's not there. So the longer the delay, the more space. And with the doubler, we're going to basically create a stereo field by delaying the left from the right and sending it to a bus and then turning up the volume until we can barely hear it. And that's just going to give the vocals more life in the dry end by also adding that dry signal kind of in that stereo field. So let's start. Small verb, I'm going to be using their FabFilters reverb. You can also use little plate. If you have little plate, that's a fantastic reverb. I don't really like to think that there's one reverb that sounds the best. Obviously, reverb is a niche and there's certain companies that do it really well. FabFilter does a really good reverb. The Valhalla reverb is really good. Whatever you're going to use, we're going to create a small room. So I'm going to grab the reverb, put it here, and we are going to make this, what's like their ambience room. Let's say like vocal reflections warm. Let's see what that sounds like. So if I wanted to solo, oh, we're not sending it. I'm going to send, so now I turn this knob all the way to A. You can also just turn it here.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
So that's just that reverb. We soloed this return track. That's all we're hearing.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
So if I was trying to think of, we're trying to create like a cathedral big room sound without being overwhelming. If I was trying to create that, it would never sound like that. That's not the room. And it's not even like, that's not big. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm saying like even the early reflections, if you're trying to think if you're sitting in front of this person singing in a cathedral, if you take the reverb out, if you could imagine taking their reverb out as they're singing from the room verb that you're hearing, what is that going to sound like? It's not going to sound like this. This is too tinny. Even if we brought it darker here.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
It's too small. We need something a little bigger. So let's see if we can go to like this vocal clear space.
I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night.
Still not doing it for me. I'm not feeling it. Maybe a small dark hall.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
So I'm gonna make it a little smaller.
I
And I'm going to cut out some of the high ends here on their EQ you can use here.
I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night.
We don't want those S's necessarily in this reverb.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
I'm going to try to make the distance further away.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
That sounds good. It's a good start. So I'm going to dial that into the vocals so that they sound good together. And we'll start there. I'm going to turn this A all the way down now and turn it up until I'm satisfied with where it sounds. And normally for me, if I have my vocals resting at around like -18, the -30 range is good for a lot of these effects.
I don't usually go out this late at night. To the place where the animals go. But baby, I'm here and I'm watching you move. There's just one thing you should know. I don't usually go out this late at night.
So
I don't usually go out this late at night.
I like where it sounds there. So now go back to your return, grab a compressor. I'm going to use the bad filter compressor again, but you can use the Ableton compressor. This is going to be really easy. What you're going to do is you're going to select sidechain. You're going to find your vocal. So our vocal is going to be this one, and turn on your sidechain in whatever compressor you're using. Down here for Fab Filter, you have to hit the sidechain button, go to external, and we're going to use basically sending the vocal itself, the dry vocal, to the reverb to be cut out when the dry vocal's in. So the tails of the reverb are going to be just as loud, but when the dry is in, it's going to be cutting out a little bit. And that's going to make it so that you're not losing emphasis in your dry signal if you want to turn your reverb a little louder. I'm going to make the attack a little quicker. The release we can mess with as we go on, but the ratio should be all the way up, and then we'll mess with that threshold. Keep the need 18.
I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night.
So if we did it all the way down, you can't really hear it. If it was a longer reverb, it's really cool because you hear a dry signal and then this tail. It's a cool effect.
I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night.
So you hear how the dry signal now is more intense, and it's almost like it's depleting this reverb, but now we can turn the reverb louder. Watch.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
So I'm gonna turn that up a tiny bit more.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
I'm gonna turn this release up.
I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night.
And what the release can do is you can kind of create the reflection you want now, because it's going to only fill the space after the vocal's not there. So super quick release.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
You can feel that reverb just popping back in. It's almost like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Where's that reverb coming from? But then you pump this release to like a 500, 600, and you can kind of feel it breathing with the vocalist.
I don't usually go out this late at night.
Ah, that sounds good. Okay, now let's pump the reverb up a little bit more.
I don't usually go out this late at night. I don't usually go out this late at night.
So that sounds pretty good. I'm gonna leave it there. We're getting a negative 40 on the bus chain there, which is good. And we're gonna reuse that side chain every single time we use an effect for the vocal. And that's going to help a lot to keep our vocals dry. So now let's add, I'm going to skip this mid verb. I don't think we're going to need a medium verb. So we're going to go to our arg verb, our large verb, also an arg verb. And what I like to do is to grab the reverb we just made, copy it to the large verb to see if we can make this one sound the way we want it, because then we're using kind of the same space we already made, which is really good to do. I'm going to also grab that same compressor and put it on that same bus, the new large one. But we're going to turn the compressor off so we can just hear the effect itself. So solo that bus, send a full 100% signal from the vocal to the bus, and let's just listen to this by itself. Let's boost that space. I think that's a cool cathedral, but I might want it bigger.
I don't usually go out this late at night. To the place where the animals go. But baby,
Actually, that's pretty good. If you were listening to the vocalist like this, before his next verse comes in, the tail's just ending. And I kind of want it to linger a little bit, so it punches through a little more. So I'm going to pump this up to maybe like 4 seconds or so.